Thank you so much for listening. If you'd like to offer dana, then please do go to justthiszen.org/giving. Your support really does make a huge difference. Thank you so much.
Welcome everyone on this first evening where it's actually light here in northern England. It's been a beautiful clear spring day here. And welcome Cassie, I've seen you've just joined us, so it's lovely to see you. So we're going to see two films this evening featuring Jakusho Kwong. The first one I find to be a very heartwarming film where he's talking about his beloved teacher, Suzuki Roshi, and talking about what it was like to be a student in the 1960s and what it's like to be a teacher. And it's not very often we hear somebody just saying some recollections of what parts of their life have been like. So it's not a Dharma talk; it's a recollection of his early life. And the second talk by Jakusho Kwong has been sent to me by Maria, and she really loved it. It's a Dharma talk which he gave last year, 2024, when he was approaching his 89th birthday. And it's around Jukai and receiving the precepts. And we're going to just play the first 11 minutes because there's so much in that short time. If you received the precepts last week in the beautiful ceremony here, they will still be resonating within you. And I would recommend listening to more of the talk. And if you're going to be taking Jukai as you are Sally and you are Ra next month, it's also about taking Jukai. And there's a contrast between the first piece and the second piece where, in this talk, he's very clear and emphatic about practice. And perhaps that's something that comes with age. You say it like it is. So I hope you enjoy and appreciate the two beautiful films. Thank you very much, Jan and Mandy, for setting those up. Thank you.
The voyage is very lonely, but also you feel comfortable with that loneliness. And for myself, I had to become a teacher before I became myself. So, it's because my teacher had died, and I was put in this position that I wanted to fulfill because of my love for him. But I didn't know who I was also. So after many, many years, then that came those two opposites came in together, and that makes for a very much more relaxed and comfortable position. It's not like I have to do this ceremony, I have to do this, but actually there's not much to do. Things that will just actually get done. They talk about non-doing, it's really true. But in the beginning, I have to do this, I have to do that, I have to do this ceremony, I have to remember this. But later on, it begins to fall into place with that kind of trust and faith. After meeting Suzuki Roshi, and that's what inspired me. Not to become a monk, but just to be like him. Yeah, that's what inspired me. And then later on, he asked me, would you, I would like to ordain you. And he also said that you can ask your wife if that's all right, and she could sign, you could sign a piece of paper acknowledging it. So he considered her also, because we had a big family, and so that's why I ended up being a monk. But I had no idea what it was going to be or how it would unfold. I practiced with Suzuki Roshi like for 10 years, and I was very quiet, very hardly talked, and very extremely shy and very introverted. And so in 1 year, we maybe had a doksan once a year and one sesshin once a year until it started moving up. And so what happened was that one doksan, I went in there, and I was very afraid to make a mistake in front of Roshi. I wanted to do everything perfect because I loved him so much and respected him. And so he saw me, how stiff I was probably, and I didn't say anything in front of him. So he got out a piece of paper and a pencil, and he said, "Could you write your name here?" and then I did that, and then he said, because he knew my father was a Chinese doctor, an herbalist, and he said that maybe in the evening you could have a glass of wine before you went to bed, so I could be relaxed. That's how kind of uptight I was. And there was a kind of a very light feeling about him, and almost just the opposite of Rinpoche. Rinpoche was something solid and just very round with no seams, and that kind of presence. And Suzuki Roshi was just the opposite. Almost a feeling of he was there, he was present, of course, but at the same time there was a lightness, and almost like no one was there. And oftentimes he would talk with his eyes closed, and he was going somewhere inside to verbalize. So, and Rinpoche, just like I was explaining, like how the sun element in the Vajrayana tradition and then the moon element in the Zen tradition, they're both, it's exactly what I'm trying to express. One is very, very visceral and physical and round with no seams, and the other one's very airy, but there's still a presence there. And those are just two general descriptions of the person. And yeah, that was my feeling. And when his son, who's also a Roshi, Hoitsu Suzuki Roshi, when he talks in the same way. And it's a good way to collect yourself when you talk. And in the Western sense, people aren't quite used to it, but it's kind of like a pause, a nice deep pause that you go back to the source, and then you verbalize again. I also watched a lot of Japanese movies. I was telling the residents the other day that just before San Francisco became the Zen Center, we used to, I have a family, so we used to sneak through the meditation hall on 1881 Bush Street and go through the kitchen and into the balcony, because it was a big theater, to see the samurai movies. I was fascinated with them, and because there was a lot of spirit, strength, and a lot of that is missing now. That spirit and strength. And at the same time, when we were sitting down to get comfortable, we looked in the corner, and there was Suzuki Roshi also watching the movies. Also, I taught myself how to chant these primordial chants from watching those movies. No one taught me. But it had the spirit. You knew there was a presence there that you could bring forth at will, because you're not doing it for yourself. You're doing it for everyone. So that's how I could do these things. We have a very traditional practice here, actually. And I would like to keep it that way, because this is traditional in that it's done, since Buddha's time, the practice, and it's been refined in different countries. But at the same time, I'm also excited and anxious at the new blood, the young blood. And we'll do something different, but keep it at the same frame as it based on the foundation of Zazen practice, the tradition. So I'm thinking of even His Holiness the Karmapa. He must have different ideas because he's young, although he's been trained traditionally than the Dalai Lama, and that's what makes it exciting. You have the old tradition, and then you have the new tradition coming and merging. That's what I'm excited about, because it can't be the same. Even His Holiness knows that. I mean, his situation is more urgent and critical, but it can't be the same. But it can adapt from the origin. Yeah, because the origin is the foundation, the source, which can change into anything. But as long as you have the source, the foundation, then anything can grow out of it. And I think that's what makes the Dharma or the Zen alive. Know that you have entered into a Zen hall, and there's no other hall like this. This talk is dedicated to the Jukai ceremony this afternoon. Ceremony in Zen is not what you think. In fact, you are not who you think you are also. What you see outside in your life is a complete illusion. And you should realize that, because you don't have to suffer. Suffering is optional. It's the conditioned world. And that's what everyone lives by. Zen precept is a sharp cut with the Vajra right through the conditioned world to see what it actually is, what's real. So the moment you were born, the conditioned reality took its effect. Everything was outside, even your nourishment. You came from the oneness of your mother, and then culture, tradition, education ingrained it in us. And actually, when you think about it, human beings are like in a factory, produced to go to school, so many years, you graduate, you get a degree, there's no break, then you get a job. I mean, is this life? You get a job, and maybe it's the job you studied for, and you're really inspired, but when you get into the job with the people and the company, it's a bondage. It's not joyous, it's not happy. And then you have children, you commute maybe 30, 40 years on the highway to support your family. What does that do to a person, to your father, to your mother, to us, to your children? Anyway, think about it. And when you, if you live that long and you live in your golden years, you should be really joyous and happy. And these are the precepts. The precept, you don't take precepts. You receive what you have, what you already have. That's why you can't get it, because you're looking outside yourself to get something. This is pretty simple, huh? It's here. closer than you ever could ever think. So receiving is receiving what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about it. It's not taking, grasping, getting. So there's a difference, receiving precepts. And precepts, I used to translate it as before you receive something, you have it. There's a Zen adage that says, before the donkey leaves, the horse has arrived. You must understand this. The only way you can understand this is through sitting, and lots of sitting, intensive sitting, until it wears out who you think you are, then something emerges. You have to be worn out. I only saw one translation. It said after a Buddha's Noble Truth in the Eightfold Path, it said meditation. One person translated it as intensive meditation. And that's what Zen is. Of course, every day we don't do intensive meditation, but we have intensive meditation called Sesshin, designed to wear you out of who you think you are, because you are not who you think you are. Anyway, it's really a great honor for me to say this, because this is what I really believe in my my birthday I'll be 89 next week. So these are my happiest years of my life. And I can share you this. And actually, I read this to my wife Shinko last night, and we both got inspired. It's actually from I don't know how much time I have to read this, and I'll add additional comments. The essence of Buddha ancestors. Who were they? The essence. Why are they called Buddhas? Why did they appear? Correctly transmitted. Transmission imparted is different than school. You're educated to get to know something that's not yourself, but it's outside. It's information outside of yourself. So it's called Zen Kaisho. Zen Jukai. The Kai is the receiving, the precepts, and Sho, the light. This book was compiled by Banchen Dotan. And it's a very important book because it gives the background of Buddha, Dogen. These aren't just historical, they are historical figures, but they are very important ancestors that brought us the Dharma, the true Dharma. And there was war when Buddha was alive. There was disease. In fact, he was born a princess. He went outside the palace and he saw the suffering, old age, sickness, and there was war when Buddha was alive. There was disease. In fact, he was born a princess. He went outside the palace and he saw the suffering, old age, sickness, and death. I mean, even if you prime your body, do good athletics, ride bicycles, do marathons, play for the NBA, your body will take on its course. It's kind of interesting. The body will just take its course. But we have no, not education, but no training for our breath and our mind. Breath and mind. The breath controls the mind controls the body. We have all kinds of exercises in yoga places, but the breath and the mind, you have to know how to use them. In other words, you're thinking,
will overtake your life, your conceptual idea of reality, of your imaginary reality, which you live in, which the conditioned world lives in. And why Buddha was great? Because he proclaimed the cessation of suffering. Isn't that a great statement? I mean, for anyone in humanity to say there's a cessation to suffering. And what is the suffering? The suffering is our greed, our attachment. Inside, deep inside, is our hate and anger and our ignorance. And Trungpa described ignorance also as confusion. So those three is the major party that rules the world. It's not the Republicans, it's not the Democrats. Politics is ruled by the major party, which is greed, anger, and ignorance. I mean, it just dawned on me. That's what a sad shape humanity is in. And of course, when you look around the world, we are in a very sad shape. And we need to work hard on ourselves, not just to benefit ourselves, but to benefit all people. Okay? The Jukai ceremony is not just to benefit yourself, it's to benefit everyone, even people you don't like. That's hard, huh? Even the people you don't like, but you think about it. Okay? So this is the beginning, and when they say scriptures or sutras was not proclaimed by anyone. So that makes it pure and true. Well, when it's proclaimed by someone, that means I did it, you did it. But it's not that I nor this I. It's someone within yourself that's greater than who you think you are. Did these sutras, and when they're scriptures, they're written, but they are the universe. It leaves nothing out. The bad and the good are looked at completely different. So that's 20 minutes already. We haven't even gotten into this, but.
Thank you, Trudy and Mandy, Duncan and Jan, for moving this along. As I was sitting, in the middle of it, I was thinking, it's so interesting what happens to me in my mind and my body when things don't go right. So, and I was also thinking, it's a little bit like one of those dreams where, there's all these interruptions going on, and but there's something really vital being said, and you try and remember what it is. And the one of the things I took from it is the breath controls the mind, and the mind controls the body. So if I just took that would be enough. So thank you for all persevering together, and now we're going to go into rooms together to explore.